Welcome to my channel and welcome to my first coloring in the book by Natalia Van Moer, Enchanted Seasons. As my first page, I selected this fall of Wreath, and of course I was very curious about paper quality. I decided that I will color Wreath with different brands of colored pencils, and for the background I will use watercolors. I started with just two colors. One is olive green and second is quinacridone gold, one of my favorite paints because from just one this paint, quinacridone gold, depending from the amount of water you add, you can get from bright yellow to intense orange colors. Exactly the color palette which I need for this page. When I started to apply them, I realized that paper is good for watercolors. Also, I tried to add third color. It's called bronze green and it's liquid watercolor by Alena. But I immediately realized that for my taste it's too bright. It doesn't match the idea of this page. It's more suitable for spring picture. Green is simply too bright. But this color mistake helped me to understand better quality of the paper because I was able to add more water to the area where I applied the very bright green. I was able to wash away this excessively bright green, to mix it with darker greens, and surface of the paper remained undamaged. When I applied colors, it was possibility to blend them on the paper without pigment being absorbed too quickly into the surface of the paper. It was possible to do layering, and you know what is the biggest problem with paper in some of the coloring books when you apply watercolors? Usually when colorist isn't very confident with paints, he works relatively slow. When I am not sure 100% which colors I want to use for the background, where I want to do darker and lighter areas, I have to think at least for a couple of minutes before adding another color. And sometimes on many papers, when you start to add next brush strokes, you discover that paper absorbed all pigment, that there are stains on the paper and it's impossible to add another layer, another color smoothly without having this sharp border between previous color and your next colored area. Here paper remained relatively well wetted even if I worked on the dry paper, so it was possible to make smooth flow when I added next drop of paint into the previously applied color, and it was easier to create color gradients. I was able to add and to intensify colors slowly. I added layer by layer. I decided that I want slightly more intense colors behind the wreath, and I added another layer of paint after paper was a little bit more drier, and everything looked exactly quite how I wanted it. I deliberately wanted to create some stains on the paper, so when water gathered in some of the areas I didn't spread it, so I got those delicate stains. For me, they look like probably some water stains, something connected to the rain. That's why I wanted to have them to maintain this atmosphere of the fall designs. My only mistake here was that I didn't flatten my page. I had to attach it to the rest of the book, and because of it some of the paint gathered along the right side of the page. But I managed to correct this small mistake. So this paper is definitely good for watercolors, and even beginner colorists who work on their watercolor background slowly will do nice results. There were no damage to the paper surface even with multiple layers and quite big amount of water I used, and also there wasn't any problems with bleeding through. I speeded up this first part of the coloring because probably it's too boring to see how I did this watercolor background, but the next part, when I will be coloring yellow flowers, it will be in real time speed. When I finished to work with watercolors, I let paper dry for a little bit and then I started to work with colored pencils. I love to do such kind of background when first layer is done with watercolors and then you intensify colors or add shading on top of the watercolor with regular pencils. And that's exactly what I did here. According to the colors which I already have on the page, somewhere it's yellow, somewhere it's orange or green, I selected similar colors of pencils and I start to add additional color accents or intensify shading. My first test was for Faber-Castell Polychromos and also for Mitsubishi Uno. Mitsubishi Uno are quite demanding to the paper quality, but here, on top of the watercolor background, they served me really well. They have good selection of various warm shades of green, olive green colors, and they helped me to make my background more intense and they blend it effortlessly into the surface of the paper. Maybe because of the watercolor it has more tools comparing to regular pencils, but at least now I know that it's possible to use these pencils in this book. Honestly, I'm glad because I don't use them quite frequently because of the paper issues in many books, but at least now I know where they can be helpful. Faber-Castell polychromos, they are good in all books, so they also behaved really well here. If you want to try such kind of the background when you do watercolor first and then work on top of it with regular pencils, I wouldn't recommend to use very soft pencils like Prismacolors. On the watercolor, they always look grainy for me, but harder pencils like Polychromos or Starjoy or Arteza, they provide much better result. It's possible to apply them almost without visible pencil strokes, so you just will see additional colors, additional color accents, and it will look better without visible pencil strokes. Orange and yellow flowers on the wreath I will be coloring with my budget pencils Color, and they also behaved very well on this paper. You will see in the next part I will show you more slowly how I did flowers, and I think that on the bird I will test Prismacolor pencils, but for now I am very happy with the quality of this paper and especially how watercolor behaved here. It definitely will be easier to do backgrounds here because of the relatively big side of the book. I definitely won't be able to do backgrounds with pencils, so to be able to use various water-based mediums like Neocolor or watercolor paints, it's really very helpful. Thanks for watching. In the same day I will post also flip through of this gorgeous book, and in couple of days I will post the finished look of this my first project, this beautiful autumn wreath.